Okay, so I was asked by someone, a friend of mine, to, I guess, explain how to do painting. This is probably not going to be the best tutorial because I'm not really a tutorial person. You can probably find way, way, way better tutorials on the internet in random spots. And also, they use Sci, and I have Photoshop, so it's not going to be an exact perfect match of what you can do in Photoshop versus Sci, but I think the programs are just close enough that it should be okay. And alright, so what I like to use for a brush is I just use like a regular brush. I use this one right here. It's actually one that comes with Photoshop CS3, CS4, CS5, just the regular CS brushes. I think this one's a little bit different from CS3. I used to have CS3 on my laptop, and this is CS5. I think the spacing is a little different, so it's not a big deal. But basically, if I turn these off, it basically is just, I'm pretty sure this is flow, which I'm not really sure how flow works, but I guess it's kind of like the lighter I press, the less flow there is. But that part's not important. The important part is the opacity. I like to use flow with opacity. I think it, well, I mean, you can use the regular brush too, like just the hard brush. Oh god. See, this has a, as you can see here, this has a different spacing, and if you look, if we zoom in, you can see the difference. Like, I've turned the spacing down to 15, and already you can see, like, this is kind of bumpy and this is smoother. So I just use, doesn't really matter. I use either or, depending on what I feel like. Because they're basically close enough, and I use a big enough canvas that it's not gonna do too much damage in the long run. But yeah, I like to use opacity jitter, and then depending on what I'm doing, I also like to use this thing. It's the tablet pressure controls the size of the brush. So if I make this big and I press very lightly on my tablet, it's a very light, very thin line. Then if I press harder, it's darker and it's larger. So basic stuff. I'm pretty sure Sai has the options to do that. I think it's a little more, you have a little more control over that stuff. I used Sai for like 5 minutes, so I can't really say. But from what I've seen of people using it, it looks like it has a little more control. So basically how you start, or at least how I start, is I'll have a sketch that I want to do something with, and usually I do line art afterwards, and I mean, my line art is kind of unconventional, quote unquote. I'm doing finger quotes, but you can't see it. So, like, I know you're supposed to do, or what they tell you to do, what's best to do. And I mean, I'm not just saying, oh, this is what's best and what's what people say. This is really like what you're supposed to do is have these nice, quick lines, like. But as you can see with the opacity on, it doesn't really help unless you want lines with opacity. But I like to use it because it gives it a little more painterly soft look. So unfortunately, I have to do the what not to do to make my line art, like the this kind of thing that you're not supposed to do. And of course, I'd like to hope that my lines are a little neater than the amateurish look that you get when you do this with line art or pencils or whatever you do. So I'm not actually going to ink this because I think it's neat enough right now. But like, I can just go like whoop, boop. See, and like sometimes I'll just have to go over it a couple times. But this is actually pretty good. It's still messy, but that's alright. I don't mind. Because this is just for demonstration purposes. Alright, so then what I do next is I'm lazy and I don't really feel like going through all of the motions to make the line art just black, because what I do with my line art is, sorry about that, but yeah, I'll usually just do, like, I'll paint a line, and then I will go over it with white paint, quote unquote, to, thin it out instead of using the eraser, because the eraser is a little unwieldy, and I don't like having to use the keyboard to switch back and forth. I could basically just go like, oh, eraser, and then do it with my pen instead of flipping it over to use the eraser, because the eraser doesn't have as much sensitivity. But I'm lazy, and this is just a doodle. So what I like to do when I'm just doodling and I just want to get it, like, I just need color on my line art really fast. I make a new layer, I go to a swatch, pick a random color, fill the whatever you call it, canvas, go to screen, ta-da, it's beautiful, it's done, everything's wonderful, life is good. I can, if I want, I can do Control G, and that doesn't really help, unfortunately. Wait, because this is a new layer, that's why. If I merge these layers, oh, no, I didn't want to do that. If I merge these layers, and there goes this, no. Technical difficulties. Whoop, oh god. If I merge these and then do this, there, then it's on its own layer. But then I just go, I'm actually going to change the color of this because this character is yellow themed, so we're going to make this yellow. And I'll make it a nice, beautiful, I guess, goldenrod. That's actually the name of the character. And then, so I can just keep painting in black and white, and the color's still this. It's a still nice goldenrod color. But I get to paint with black and white. So that's done, that's good. Now I've got a new layer on top. And then I switch this to multiply because I've still got the white and black because I'm lazy. And I'll just choose a color. I'm just gonna go with this goldenrod and make it a little lighter. I don't actually know what color this character is, so we'll just make it up as we go along. And then I start filling it in. And I like this, like, I guess if I'm gonna do, if I'm doing a more painterly kind of picture, because I have two different ways I like to do things. This is actually kind of an older way I do things. Like, before I would do this, and then I would kind of fix up the line art as I went along, and now what I kind of do is I do the line art on its own separate layer, and then I do all the fancy hard work to make it so that there's no white lines or anything, and the color's on its own whatever. Not very eloquent, as you can tell, but this was more when I would edit the line work as I was painting the rest of the picture. And now what I do is I basically have the line art on its own layer instead of merging everything and then painting it together. If that makes any sense at all, I'm not sure it does. So yeah, I've got my base color, it's nice and good, and it's actually nice creamy-ish color. And so now what I'm gonna do is, I was specifically asked to do like a stylized and soft coloring, so we're gonna do that. Now, what I like to do is I like to start with cell shading. I mean, you don't have to, but if you do, there is this, like, I guess, common thing with beginning artists where they want to go, oh, or they go, I want to do cell shading, or I don't want to do cell shading. I want to do soft, beautiful, realistic look with my art. And so they take the soft brush and they just go la 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 like that, and that doesn't look any good. I mean, you can make it look good, but you're basically just gonna have like this kind of weird look to it. It's kind of, well, it's working now, I guess, kind of, but like if you were to Actually, this works pretty well, but what you really don't want to do this kind of thing. Like, you don't want to just use the soft brush, because like if you look at it this way, I guess it's kind of, your best bet is a mixture of hard and soft. So what I like to do is I like to start with some cell shading. So I'll just go like, oh wait, I need my opacity back on. Like, and sometimes I'll have it with the size sensitivity on, and sometimes I'll have it without. And so you just kind of like do. And they wanted stylistic shading, so I guess you could kind of call it stylistic. I'm not going for super realism here. This is also, it's kind of a lot easier to do shading if you've had practice with just doing life drawing in general. Life drawing is such a big help for doing any type of art. Like, even if you want to do cartoons, if you do a little bit of life drawing every day, you'll see a huge improvement, just because you're learning how to see things instead of just kind of saying, oh, I know what this looks like. And so
I have to go. Are you gonna feed him Sneaky? Okay.
alright, I'm sorry. It helps you because you kind of learn how to see, and you can apply that to your cartoony looks. So instead of just being like, oh, I know what a tree looks like, and you draw a tree and it's like, you actually like learn to look at the tree and you see it, and I guess you draw it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not the most eloquent person, but I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense. So now we get on to the softer shading part of this. So I've turned the tablet pressure sensitivity for size off, because I think it's much easier to do softer shading when you don't have the size jitter. Sometimes I like to have it on, sometimes I don't. It all depends on how I feel personally. So then you just kind of, it's all about being light with the tablet pen and selecting colors. So, and you could probably even go even softer than this with the soft brush, but it's just easier, I think, to I don't really do that unless I'm doing like something realistic. Otherwise, I'm just kind of stick to this because it can give it a nice painterly look. And then, let's see. And then this part's going to be a little hard because the shadow is closer. Like, the closer an object is, I don't know how to explain it. I'm not eloquent enough to explain it, but the farther away a shadow is, the softer it gets. That's probably, I don't know if that's common knowledge or not, but then like do a little bit of this. This character is a robot, sort of a construct. So they're going to be smooth except for little bits. And you can kind of see that it's getting a little dark here because this is on multiply. If I had done the fancy stuff to make it the line art, I guess, transparent and all that jazz, then that wouldn't show up, but this is just a sketch, so that doesn't matter. This part will be hard because the neck is here and the shadow is the neck is close, or the head is close to the neck, so the shadow is going to be sharp, and since this is just regular light, this shadow will be soft. And I mean, when you do a hard shadow, it doesn't have to be super hard. It can be kind of soft too, like if you want to just. But literally all this is just going over stuff lightly with your tablet pen. And then, like, you make a line, you select the color that's in the middle, like here. Basically what you just do is you take the dark color, you lightly paint a line, and then you select that color that's in between the white and the dark color, And then you just do it again and just keep doing it. And eventually you get a nice soft gradient. And I'm not an expert on painting. Depending on what I like to do, or depending on what the picture calls for, I will do different types of shading. Like, sometimes you look at a picture and it's just like, oh, this really just does not need super detailed shading. It can just be like something really simple. Like, I just did a picture where the shading is like almost non-existent and it's not realistic at all. Where I did another picture a while back where I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have all this beautiful reflected light and all this stuff. And I mean, reflected light is pretty easy, I guess, once you learn it. If if anyone wants a tutorial on reflected light, you could probably find better ones online. But and so just gonna keep painting this, and yeah, there we go. And that's really all there is to it. Just being soft. Like, if you really, really need soft, then go with the soft brush, but like I said, I like the more painterly look. I feel like my artwork, or at least in general, my style tends to, or how I like to paint goes towards the painterly look. I just enjoy that a lot more than trying to be super realistic. And then some more reflected lighting, because objects, especially like a metal or something, is going to be, it's shiny. Whoops. So there's going to be light coming from, like, light, when you're in a room, there's not light just coming from one area. So like, let's say this is stick figure Joe, and it's not like just light is coming down just from this area. It's going to come down and it's going to bounce off the walls and the floor. Because light just likes to bounce everywhere. It's just like a bouncy ball, except it doesn't have a physical form. So it's gonna bounce off stuff, and like if there's a red floor, this is gonna bounce off, and it's gonna be like, ooh, I like red, and it's gonna bounce up, and you're gonna have red reflected light. Well, you can't really tell because I colored it in goldenrod, but but yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of reflected light. Do 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 do. And just zoom out sometimes. Zooming out is very good because you can see everything, and like it, zooming out keeps you from getting too engrossed in the details of a piece, which I know happens to me a lot. Like, I'll be zoomed in and I'll just be doing the face, and then you zoom out and you're like, oh, the face is really nice, but the rest of the body is crap. And so you're just like, well, you gotta do, like, you'll put so much detail into the face, and then you'll be like, oh, well, I guess I better put a lot of detail into the rest of the body, and you're gonna want to, like, die, because putting so that much effort into it, it's just, not fun. So it's good, it's better to have everything at, like, the same amount of renderedness than it is to do, like, super rendered face and then zoom out and realize that you did a super rendered face and the rest of it's not rendered at all. If that makes any sense. Like I said, I'm not good at this. And then it's nice and soft and beautiful. And yeah, and then if I were just gonna paint this, I would select all these layers, I would collapse it, probably make a new layer on top, and then I would just go in and paint the lines like that, make it all nice and smooth. Probably turn this back on, the tablet pressure sensitivity, so I can get nice tapered lines, but also have that nice softness. Whoop. No. There. And also this can be good for more painterly look as well. I guess it all depends on what you want to do. or what you feel like. And also, what speaks to you as an artist. I don't know. This speaks to me. A lot of things speak to me. There. And that's kind of how you just do line art. Or not line art, coloring. Wow. That's how you do coloring. This was a not very eloquent or well thought out tutorial by me, Joanna, the artiste. But I hope maybe this will help you a little bit. Just a teeny bit. And then what I love to do at the end of painting anything, for the most part, I go to color balance, which is this nice little adjustment thing. I don't know if Sai has it, but Photoshop has it. From the speed drawing videos I've seen, don't think Sai has it, but there are ways to kind of do this kind of thing. Kind of, maybe. But you basically just, it's the middle tones. So the middle tones, I want this more magenta-y. And the highlights, I want these more blue. See, it like changes the color. And you can do it subtly or not subtly, like depending. I want this bright orange, and I want the shadows to be like dark and blue and sad, and then it becomes a completely different color. It's better if it's not it's easier to see the difference if it's not monochrome, or see how it can be subtle but still have a huge effect when it's not a monochrome picture. So yeah, that's it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Woo! The end.